Hi there, welcome back. It's 9:25. Great to have you. So tomorrow is Black Women's Equal Pay Day, a day to raise awareness about historic pay differences between Black women and others and get people talking about how we can close that gap for good. So joining us to talk more about this, best-selling author and career and leadership expert, Kimberly B. Cummings. Kimberly, thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So talk a little bit about this Equal Pay Day tomorrow. I mean, how game-changing could this be?
This is always a great time to really reinforce the importance of pay, equity, and equality. It is such an issue, especially for women of color and Black women tomorrow, which we are focusing on.
All right, so when we talk about Black women in the workplace, women of color, as you just mentioned, you have advice for women of color on knowing their value in the workplace and communicating that value to others in the workplace. Can you share some of that with us?
Sure, it is so important. I think many times we just focus on figuring out what number is the number we should be asking for. But outside of what that number is, I think it's very important that we know how to do our own analysis, understanding what our skills are, our value, our contribution, our impact. Those are the things that help your salary, especially when you're looking to go and do a little bit more in salary negotiate and go into those processes. It's important to understand what is that value and impact you bring by looking at your past experiences, looking at the different roles that you've had, and understanding how that directly relates to the role that you are going into or you're negotiating a better salary for.
All right, so we also want to talk, as a white woman talking to you, how can we be allies? How can we be advocates to do more than just listen? I mean, how can we support Black women in the workplace?
Make sure that you advocate for pay equity in the workplace. I think it's one thing to be at the table and negotiating your own salary, but it's another thing when the company really pushes and does these studies so they understand what are the inequities. So many times we don't know. And as a hiring leader or an individual contributor, I think it's important to bring these up. And if you are in a position to hire a Black woman or a woman of color, advocate, make sure that they are getting paid equitably when they're negotiating their salary. Make sure you understand where that falls in line with their peers.
You know, on that same note, when we talk about pay in general, that can feel really intimidating. I feel like a lot of us have been taught, oh, don't talk about pay, don't talk about how much you make. And that seems like we're going to have to change that if we can make sure that there is equal pay.
Oh, yes, I know. My dad always told me, don't tell people what you make. It is
Hmm.
none of their business, all of those things. But I think it's important that we have a little bit more transparency. There are so many great tools that we look at online that can give us a pretty good range. But I also think behind closed doors with trusted people in your network, it is okay to talk numbers. I know just last year, one of my girlfriends, we were talking about it as we were going into new roles, and we had that moment of, are we really going to have that conversation? How close are we going to be right now? And I think it's important to be open and candid so we really know what is possible.
Now, on a personal note, I've had some pretty eye-opening and personal conversations with some of my friends who are Black career women in the workplace, and they talk about how these microaggressions in the workplace are still happening to them, not just pay, but just in their everyday lives. What can we do in our workplaces to make it better?
They are still happening every single day. And I know behind closed doors, as a fellow Black woman, we have these conversations about how people think the workplace has changed, especially as we talk about the Black Lives Matter movement over the past year. But so many things have not. I think it's important that overall we're open and honest about what are microaggressions? What does bias look like in the workplace? What does unconscious bias look like? And also being open to standing up when something isn't right and sharing, hey, this is not right. This should not be happening in the workplace. I would greatly appreciate if whatever does not happen again. It's very important to really advocate for your experience in the workplace, regardless of whether you feel like retaliation may be a factor.
Kimberly, this was a great conversation to have this morning. We appreciate you. Tomorrow, Black Women's Equal Pay Day, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks again for having me.
Absolutely.